So today I wanted to highlight two stocks that haven't seen much price movement over the last 2 months or so. And these are stocks that I've been following for a little while now. And I think they're great buying opportunities, even though they haven't really moved much over the next 2 months. And I think these levels that they're kind of sitting at right now give the opportunity to buy before they really break out. So the first one is Uber. This is a stock that I made a few videos on, spanning back to probably when it was around 80 bucks. But now we're sitting around 90 to 95 level. And as you can see, going back to even May is when we originally hit the 90 levels. Since then, we've seen some up and downs. We've seen it kind of go back to 80 and then even touch almost 100. But we're kind of always resorting to this 95 level. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think this is a very solid level to sit at, especially considering, where many people open their positions, especially if you saw my earlier videos around the 80 level. That's a good chunk of profit, probably around 20%. But I think this can go much higher. I think it can go to first, obviously, break 100, and then eventually 110, 120. I mean, you look at the price to earnings ratio is below 16, which Uber inherently, I guess, isn't going to be a crazy growth stock just because, what they're doing isn't going to change much. But as of recently, they've been exploring the autonomous vehicle market, and that could provide revenues that could really boost the stock price, I think, in the future and even in the near future. They've built a very strong financial kind of story here. We see these revenues are really like just a very, very solid growth story here from Uber, just consistently 20% year over year gains, which is really what you like to see. And then the thing that I highlighted, I think, in the original videos I made about Uber was its profitability. And they were kind of sitting, kind of struggling to become profitable, which is why you saw the stock price maybe not break out as much. But as of recently, the last few quarters, you've seen this kind of little bubble develop of just profitability. And that's what you love to see out of Uber. And, they're making serious amounts of money. They announced a $25 billion buyback program, their last earnings release. And their last earnings release, their stock dropped a little bit. I think it was around here, maybe a little before that or after that. But after that, we kind of just saw a nice little run up because I think the market was just starting to realize where this stock belongs. And it's in the hundreds, most definitely. So I think now is an amazing time to start adding to your position, or to just hold it if you already have some, or to enter a new position if you haven't already. And this is going to be an extremely safe pick. I mean, Uber is not going anywhere. Their financials are amazing. You're not really risking much. The lowest thing we could ever see with Uber, at least in the near future, is probably in the 80s, maybe low 80s if some really bad news happens, especially relating to Tesla with the autonomous vehicles. But other than that, this is an amazing pick, very, very low risk. And I think the upside is amazing, around above 100 in the near future. And the second stock that I want to talk about is Vistra. And this is one that I've seen very, very good gains from. I made my first video on it when it was probably around 130. And again, I was kind of tracking this little trend. If you look at the 5-year chart here, where you saw these highs in early January around 190, which is exactly pretty much where we are now. And then it just started dipping. That's because of the tariff issues and the AI issues that you saw with NVIDIA and DeepSeek. And I mean, there was no business problems. There was no issues with the revenue. So this is kind of where I picked up, and then it was kind of hard to tell the bottom. So we dropped a little bit, but if you kept adding, you would see really, really good profits. I mean, if you bought all the way at the bottom, you'd be almost 2x at this point, which is what you love to see. But over the last few months, you look at around 2 months ago, a little more than 2 months ago, it was around this 190 level as well. And since then, we've reached 215, but we've kind of retreated a little bit. And again, nothing is going on with the business. The revenues are just really, really solid. You look at the revenues here, starting to, again, build that uptrend here that we'd love to see. And again, you're seeing maybe their growth is slowing down a little bit, but still growing at a very, very solid rate. And then the net income is really where you want to look as well. And they're starting to build this little bubble here of profitability. They're kind of shaky. Last quarter they were profitable. The quarter before they weren't, and they're kind of just hopefully can build a little bit of consistency with that. But I mean, this is an amazing spot to add for Vistra. I think at the very least, you have these 215 levels that it can easily get back to, I think, very, very soon, which is, a 15% gain around. And then after that, I think you could reach 230, 250. Again, Pelosi holds the stock, which is always a good thing. and the price to earnings ratio is 30, which might be a little high for an energy stock, but it's not your typical energy stock. It's very heavily tied to data centers and kind of fueling those. So if you really want to be a part of the AI era, and you don't want to invest in these huge tech companies that may be a bit overvalued, I'd say Vistra is an amazing place to go, because these data centers are going to need insane amounts of energy. So this is definitely an amazing spot to add if you are interested in opening a position or already have a position in Vistra. I've been adding when it's at these 190 levels, because before you know it, we might be at 215 again, and then you're talking, reaching new levels. So let me know what you think in the comments about these two picks. They haven't really moved much in the last few months, but I think these are amazing spots to kind of quietly accumulate while they're kind of just holding steady at these levels. And if you like the videos, please subscribe. And yeah, see you next week.